You looking to build a house in Edmonton? Where on earth can you build? We're going to talk about this in this video. Hi, this is Melody Wilson from the Relay team at Remax Elite. Thanks so much for tuning in to our channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the new videos. So in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about where in Edmonton you can build a new home. Now, we have a lot of requests in terms of wanting to build new, so where can you build? We have lots of different areas in Edmonton and they're split into quadrants. So as a general rule of thumb, in the Edmonton area, if we're looking at infill properties, which are homes that exist, you have to take the house off and build new, that's called infill. That is inside of the Anthony Henday ring, and we're not talking about those areas today. In this video, we're talking about the suburban areas in Edmonton that you can build. These would be all locations outside of the Anthony Henday ring for the most part. So the first area we're going to talk about is my favorite, of course, not biased at all because I live there, is West Edmonton. So in West Edmonton, you have pretty limited land in terms of where you can build. Right now, you can build currently in Secord and in Rosenthal. Those are considered West new areas. You've also got Stewart Greens, that is also across the Winterburn Road. So in the West Edmonton area, that's your typical West area. Builders are also calling Uplands and Edgemont also west. Now, if you look at the map, they're actually a little bit more southwest, and Edgemont and Uplands have a lot less access to amenities and schools. With Secord and Rosenthal, they're closer to amenities. We lived in Secord about 12 years ago, was when we first moved in, and there was nothing nearby. Now, you've got a Save On Foods, you've got easy access to Stony Plain Road, White Mud, Anthony Henday. So you've got a lot of access in Secord and Rosenthal. If you're looking at Edmonton bus stops in terms of what would be good for Edmonton West, Secord's going to have more bus stops than in Rosenthal. However, Rosenthal does have bus stops. It is a pretty spread out neighborhood, and sometimes these neighborhoods you have to walk quite a distance before you actually have bus access. There is currently only one bus line that runs through, and that is unfortunate because our system for Edmonton bus transit isn't the greatest here. If you're building new, you likely will be needing a vehicle to drive to wherever you're looking to drive, so something to keep in mind when you're considering building in Edmonton. So let's talk about the Edgemont areas. If you take a look at the link below, you'll have a link to a more descriptive information from my website that talks about all the different areas. I mentioned Edgemont. There's 3 different areas they call Edgemont: Timber Ridge at Edgemont, Edgemont East, and Woodhaven at Edgemont. They're all different sections. Edgemont East is actually located completely separate, and then Woodhaven and Timber Ridge are located closer together. Woodhaven has a really cool playground that's actually more so for the older kids, but it is a great place. There's a lot of walking paths in that area. It's very undeveloped, and you're very windy roads everywhere to get in, but there's very quiet and secluded is the pro. So just a side note, going back to the West Edmonton neighborhood of Secord, Secord is now listed as a whole bunch of different areas. On MLS, it'll be one neighborhood called Secord, but builders like to and developers like to split these areas around, especially if there's different developers, and Secord does have a few different developers, and then of course a lot of different builders in there. So you can find Secord in Secord Heights, College Woods, those two are a little bit older, so is Henley Heights. The newer Secord areas would be West Secord and Rosewood. Now, West Secord and Rosewood are located close to the traffic circles that split the Secord and Rosenthal area, and they're closer to the potential new rec center for West Edmonton. So let's move into Southwest Edmonton. Now, we mentioned that Uplands and Edgemont are kind of more on the southwest side. They're still on the north side of the river. If we go to the south side of the river, now we're going to see these different southwest neighborhoods. So in Windermere, we're going to have a lot of different developments. Again, on MLS, it's stated as Windermere and not all these little sub-communities, but we will list off the sub-communities for you. So we've got Keswick, which is actually listed on MLS, and then in Keswick, there's a few different areas. There's Keswick on the River Valley, which is the more expensive homes that back onto the River Valley or quieter area within that space. You've also got one at Keswick, which is known for all their modern lines and their modern homes. In Keswick as well, there's also just the Keswick general area. Now, if you move into Glen Ridding, there is a ton of different new developments in Glen Ridding, and it's getting pretty south into Edmonton. So we've got newly, Brenton at Glen Ridding Ravine is just starting. There's not a whole lot of information yet and not a whole lot of lots open. There's only, I believe, one phase open right now. There is Ridgecrest at Glen Ridding, and then Glen Ridding Ravine is kind of that area. Then you have Glen Ridding Heights, which is an older, it's not that old. When I say older, I mean within the last 5 to 7 years. And then we've got Saxony Glen, which is also a new area in Glen Ridding. Now, you've also got Langdale in Windermere, and that area has been around for a little bit longer. Same thing, 5 years. It's not brand new like this Brenton and Ridgecrest. But Langdale has the wide and shallow homes because that's the lots that they have. So wide and shallow are 0 lot lines, but instead of long and narrow, they're wide and shallow. So they have a really cool frontage. But their backyards are very shallow. There's not much of a backyard. The zeros that have less on the sides still have a nice size backyard. Now, if we move further south, you will hit Graydon Hill. That's still an area you can build in. There's not as many available lots left over Graydon Hill. So after Graydon Hill, you're going to move into the southwest quadrant, which is Hayes Ridge area, also known as Yager Ridge, Paisley area, Chappelle area, and Desrochers. So those areas are all newer in southwest Edmonton and have lots of different types of homes. Paisley in southwest Edmonton was one of the first areas to restart the whole 0 lot line trend, which we now see everywhere right now. If you keep driving down the Anthony Henday past east of 127th Street and west of the Highway 2, which is also known as Whitemud, you will find some other south neighborhoods that you can build in. These areas include both Allard and Kavanaugh, which is pretty south. You're actually heading towards the airport. You're very close to the airport if you live in these areas. These areas tend to be a bit louder because the traffic of Highway 2 is coming in. So you'll have to drive down and see if this is something you'd be willing to take. I've noticed that the cell service isn't the greatest in these neighborhoods. I'm sure they're going to put more towers in so that the service will improve, but just something to note. Now, if you continue to follow me southeast, we're now east of Whitemud, and we are in the area where Summerside is no longer that new of an area. There's still lots to build in there, but they are private lots, and you have to find a builder to help you build a home in there. But we're talking about a neighborhood just south of Summerside, which is the Orchards at Ellerslie. This neighborhood is very hot. It also has a HOA, Homeowners Association fee. It doesn't have lake access like Summerside, but it does have a lot of different amenities that are closed access only for the residents of Orchards at Ellerslie. Now, if you keep moving more east, you're moving into Walker. There's still building lots in there, but it's getting a little bit on the older side. But if you keep going on to the southeast quadrant of Edmonton, you're going to hit new areas like Astor, which is right across from Laurel. Laurel's a little bit older also, like Walker. And past Astor, you're also going to have Maple Crest, which is also known as Maple on MLS. So these are some newer areas, and they're pretty much almost at Sherwood Park. So now we are in southeast Edmonton. We're going up the Anthony Henday to northeast Edmonton. So in northeast Edmonton, you've got Kristalina Nera, Cybecker, McConaughey, and Manning Village. McConaughey and Manning Village have been around a little bit longer. However, Cybecker and Kristalina Nera are on the newer side. In northeast Edmonton, you tend to have more affordability for lots. However, with the high demand that we've been experiencing lately, there's not a massive difference between lot prices when you look in the north side of Edmonton. Now, if you keep traveling with me down the Anthony Henday now towards northwest Edmonton, you're going to get into Newcastle. Now, Newcastle's not outside of the Henday. You do have to come down 127th Street a little bit. It's an older area that has been around for at least about 7 to 8 years. So it's not as brand new as Kristalina Nera, for example. If you keep going down Anthony Henday westward, we're still northwest Edmonton. Kinglet is a brand new subdivision. It's a very small area. It's just starting. When I was there, it just was very open. So nothing quite established as much there right now. Their lot prices aren't as competitive as you would think just because it's new. The high demand that we have right now isn't really showing that we're getting super crazy good deals on lots. Kinglet is really close to Big Lake, and Big Lake has a variety of different communities. You have in Big Lake Trumpeter, you have Starling, You also have Hawks Ridge. Now, just a side note for North Edmonton, Griesbach, which is located into Edmonton, is an older area, but it's still definitely lots of builders are building brand new in there. And that's a completely side note of the suburbs outside of the Anthony Henday. The brand new neighborhoods, we tried to cover most of them, but I honestly can't keep up. Sometimes when I'm driving out showing houses, I notice another sign pop up of another new development. Now, this is quite normal as areas continue to get developed, and we've seen a shortage last year of lots being available for sale. So I'm expecting we're going to see a lot more availability for lots, and I'm guessing more so in the fall of this year. So if you look at the date of when we timed this, we are at a shortage for land, and there's not a lot being developed for utilities. So as we are in the spring, summer months, they'll put in the utilities and you'll have more lot access. If you have any questions or you want to know about future lot access, maybe for next year or the year after, make sure to send us a message and we'd be happy to help. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully this video gave you some ideas of some areas that you can build in Edmonton.